Stanley Johnson, who we're going to talk now about China, because we can be reasonably sure that aliens were not indeed responsible for the 4 unidentified flying objects that were shot down in the last few days over America. China, despite official denials, is of course suspected of launching balloons to spy on our American friends. The first one travelled across the US before being shot down on the 4th of February off the coast of South Carolina. And a further 3 objects were taken out in the last few days. A former head of MI6 today said the West is under the full press of Chinese espionage. And next week, world leaders are gathering in Munich for a major security conference. And they'll be connecting their mobile phones to, you guessed it, telecoms infrastructure provided by none other than Beijing telecoms giant Huawei.
Well, joining us is the author, campaigner and China fan, Stanley Johnson. You may say that's fair or unfair. We'll come to that. And best-selling author Douglas Murray, who's joining us from New York. We will, I think, first of all, we will have to come to you, Stanley.
So keen to get involved in the debate.
Stanley, the bottom line is here. Put it simply, the Chinese are spying on our allies. We've probably got to assume that they are spying on us too. Are you now embarrassed at your stance of being so pro-Chinese?
I'm not at all embarrassed. Absolutely not. Look at the debate you just had with Lord Heseltine. Here we are, an isolated country, more or less losing our friends in Europe. We are not in a good shape as far as Russia is concerned.
So let's cozy up to the Chinese.
Can we really afford to, develop a hostile relationship with China? I think not now. You asked your point. Am I a Sinophile? Well, in 1961, I tried to ride a motorcycle from Oxford to Peking. We got to the Chinese border. I'm going to finish that journey off this summer. I've been in China. I think I was the first EU delegation to go to China in 1975 when Mao was still in charge. I've been there lots of times. One of my sons was educated, not Boris, by the way, not one of my younger sons was educated in Tsinghua University.
But you haven't answered the question. They're spying on us, Stanley.
Well, we're spying on them. And that is the nature. However, I happen to believe that if the Chinese say this is a meteorological, let's wait until they're disproved. We have satellites. I'm not sure Britain has satellites, but the US certainly has satellites. We certainly have all signs of.
Are we floating balloons over Beijing?
Well, that's a pretty antiquated form. It might be totally appropriate for British technology to have a few balloons. We probably, the French could do it with Monsieur Blériot. No, I think the real tragedy of the whole thing is just at the moment when Mr. Blinken, Antony Blinken, was about to go to China to, as it were, reset a relationship which had been slightly knocked off kilter by Mrs. Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. Just at that moment, this unfortunate episode occurred and the balloon floated over North Carolina. Yeah, let's move on. That's my line.
This seems an awful lot of apologist waffle to me, with apologies from me for saying that to you. I mean, you seem to be actively proud of cozying up to Beijing.
We're all cozying up to Beijing. If you look at the trade figures, we cozy up to Beijing every day. You just pointed out all the things we use every day, all the things which we buy from China every day. And by the way, in the world I do, you very kindly, I think, introduced me as an author. Well, one of the things I do is write books about the environment. I campaign. That's the campaigning part on the environment. Without China, a lot of the work we do on the big environmental issues would go down the drain.